members of the Honor Guard from the Madison Police Department and Lake County Sheriff's Office present the flags, then I invite you all to join in the singing of our national anthem, led by the Dakota State University Concert Choir. Please remain silent and standing then as the Honor Guard marches out of the auditorium.
Detail, post colors. Present arms.
Please be seated. Well, good morning. I'm Yosei Marie Griffiths, the president of Dakota State University, and it's my great pleasure to welcome all of you to our 2015 fall commencement. First of all, I'd like to congratulate each of you who is graduating today. We're gathered here to celebrate your success in achieving this admirable milestone in your life and career, a Dakota State University degree. Secondly, congratulations to all those of you who are here to support our graduates. None of us achieves success on our own. We're dependent not only on the support of those we know and love, our family and friends, faculty and staff, but also on hundreds, if not thousands, of people who may be invisible and unknown to us, but without whom none of us would be here today. I've always loved the Isaac Newton quote, "If I see further, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants." We are all standing on the shoulders of giants in this field house today. The giants who had the vision to establish this institution that's now named Dakota State University, as well as those who've sustained the university over the years. The giants of our families and friends who've made choices and providing loving support day by day throughout our lives. And the giants of this Madison community, this state, this country, and our world. We are in amazing company today amid a host of witnesses to celebrate the success of the hardworking individuals who constitute this graduating class. So graduates, please stand, turn around, and join me in thanking your family and friends for their contributions to your success. Turn around, all around you. Thank you. You may now sit down. You didn't know you were going to have to do that, did you? But I added it to the script. Oh, okay. I am pleased that we have a number of distinguished guests to celebrate with us today. On the platform, we have Regent John Bastian and our Dakota State Alumni Association President, Arden Jones. Also in the audience, we have our District Representative, Matt Woolman. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. It's now my pleasure to introduce Student Senate President Anastasia Gentles. Anastasia has served as the Student Senate President for the past year. She's a native of Phoenix, Arizona, and enrolled at DSU to run cross-country and track. As a student, Anastasia has served as a resident assistant and department manager for Residence Life. She'll graduate in the spring with a baccalaureate in biology for information systems. Please join me in welcoming Anastasia.
Thank you, Dr. Griffiths. Good morning, graduates. As I stand upon this stage today, I feel honored to be in a room full of inspired individuals and creative thinkers. On behalf of the Student Association Senate, I'd like to say welcome to friends and family. Thank you for joining us here today. Graduates, today marks the beginning of the rest of your life. As you have a clean slate before you, please remember what brought you here. The college experience was a time for you to discover who you are and how you relate to other people. Many of you have had to deal with the struggles of living in a tiny room with someone that you may not have known, but by the time the semester was over, you'd known more than you'd like. Or some of you spent more of your time in academic halls of their library, and that feels like home. In any situation, you learn how to depend on yourself and what it takes for you to be successful. This knowledge is precious, and coupled with your degree, you have the power to go anywhere. As you embark on this new and exciting journey, please remember that you are now and forever a part of the DSU family. You have shaped this university into what it has become, just as those after you will shape the DSU into the best university that it can be. This will always be your university and your home. As I close this morning, I'd just like to say one last thing. You've made it. Whether you're receiving your associate's or doctorate, you have persevered through the struggle of taking college courses as well as trying to figure out what you plan to do with your life. Now, if you know exactly where you're headed after today, congratulations. But for those of you who don't, that's okay too. This room is filled with people who have invested their time and energy into helping you succeed, and surely they know that good things are in store for you. As a childhood favorite, Dr. Seuss once said, "You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself in any direction you choose. You're on your own and you know what to do, and you're the only one who will decide where to go." Congratulations, graduates.
And now, I'm delighted to introduce our honored commencement speaker today. I've known Daniel Morrow for close to 20 years. He is an academic, corporate, and intellectual leader. Founder of the Jamestown Exploration Company, Mr. Morrow has led numerous groundbreaking initiatives in academia, business, and industry, and for the federal government. He's been a trailblazer in the ways that organizations use information and information technology to further their missions and accomplish their goals. His other professional experience includes the Washington Post, where he was manager of market research applications, Whitney Communications Corporation, for which he served as publisher of a newspaper group, and the Village Companies, where he was vice president for the communications company. Morrow's academic credentials include degrees from the University of Virginia. His postgraduate work was performed at the University of North Carolina and the West German Institute for European History, where his studies focused on black troops in the Weimar Republic and post-World War I Germany. On October 2013, he published his first novel, Murder in Lexington, and a long subtitle, VMI, which is Virginia Military Institute, Honor and Justice in Antebellum Virginia, a true crime story of a deadly confrontation and the trials that followed. The notions of duty, honor, and justice associated with those events shaped an extraordinary group of men and women who would all too soon face the larger trials of the American Civil War. As executive director of the Computer World Honors Program from its inception in 1989 until his so-called retirement in 2005, Morrow led and coordinated activities between the program's academic council, its archival institutions around the world, and the 100 information technology leaders who served on its chairman's committee. The honors program was established to address the needs of the Smithsonian Institution's National Museum of American History and those of International Data Group, the world's leading purveyor of information about information technology. Its 18-year mission was to capture a real-time record of the information technology revolution. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Dan Morrow to our Dakota State University commencement ceremony.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you, Dr. Griffiths, members of the Dakota State Class of 2016, parents, friends, faculty, and honored guests. It is an honor to be asked to speak here on this great and happy day. And it is indeed a day to remember. It's a day to be seized and treasured and built upon. A day for all of us to thank those whose lives and work and love and sacrifice have brought you and me and all our guests here today. And a day for all of us gathered here in your honor, to let you know as best we can just how much we treasure you, your hard work, and this moment in time. So please let's begin with a round of applause for the Dakota State Class of 2015. Great. Dr. Griffiths asked me here today, in part because I am a teller of tales, a collector of stories, a writer of history, sometimes a cold, hard realist, sometimes an unabashed cynic, but always, given my Southern birth, a hopeless romantic about what Mr. Lincoln once described as the better angels of our nature. I think she also valued my perspective. I am, after all, very, very old. Check out November 1944 on Wikipedia. When I was born in the Jim Crow South, my father was with an infantry division in Luxembourg on a day when Hitler was not only still alive, but preparing his greatest assault of the war on the Western Allied armies. And the Holocaust was still in progress. I was born on a day when Tokyo was aflame, its heart destroyed by a firestorm set by incendiaries dropped by American B-29s, the same planes that 9 months later would carry and drop the only 2 nuclear weapons ever used in warfare. I grew up in a mill town, an hour from the University of North Carolina, an hour from Duke, 2 hours from the University of Virginia, and in my day, 1,000,000 miles away from both places. But who knew? As a teenage radio DJ and weekend newsman, I covered civil rights demonstrations and heard our local police officers, my friends, swapping tales about how they incited people to violence. I was going to be sequentially and without success a physicist, Presbyterian minister, and a teacher of modern German history. Perhaps that odd combination of my affinity for numbers, my sometimes all too pronounced self-righteousness, and my interest in the very, very best and the very, very worst of humankind led me to go into media, advertising, and public relations. First in Chapel Hill, then at the Washington Post, and in the days before personal computers, the internet, and the World Wide Web launched a global revolution, touching, for better or worse, every aspect of human behavior. I left the Washington Post to help chronicle that very revolution, to seek out and capture for the Smithsonian Institution the stories of the men and women who led that revolution, and to hold those stories in trust for future generations. For nearly 20 years, 18 to be exact, my job and that of those who worked with the Computer World Smithsonian Awards and the Computer World Honors was to conduct an annual poll of the chairmen and CEOs of the world's leading information technology companies. We told them that Smithsonian believed their work was changing the world and asked them every year to recommend 4 or 5 case studies that we should collect for the institution's permanent research collection on the history of this information technology revolution. Stories they thought, of people they thought were doing great work and of whom they were, as individuals, personally, especially proud. We would then went to each of their nominees and asked them to submit their stories. All those case studies became part of the Smithsonian's permanent collection, and the 10 best each year were honored in special ceremonies in Washington, intimate little black tie affairs for 500 people or so at the National Building Museum. And the 10 best were featured in the closing gallery of the National Museum of American History's Information Age exhibit, which chronicled this technology revolution from Morse's telegraph to the present, which of course was changing about every 30 seconds. That's how I first met Dr. Griffiths. As a young British-trained PhD in physics, she was in charge of information technology at the University of Michigan. And Michigan was doing so much, so well, that nearly every year her projects became finalists. And because she insisted on giving credit where credit was really due, I often found myself with her in Ann Arbor reenacting the medal presentation ceremonies to honor all the members of her IT teams whose work had just become part of our national history. She's special that way. She believes in giving credit where credit is due. The honors program also collected oral histories of many, though sadly all too few, of the leaders of that revolution. People whose names or companies or both were household words. People like Steve Jobs, people like Bill Gates, people like Gordon Moore, who was a co-founder of Intel and perhaps better known now for Moore's Law, Bill Hewlett, and a man named David Packard, who together founded Hewlett-Packard, now known as HP. John Chambers, one of the co-founders of Cisco. Larry Ellison of Oracle. And people whose names are now less well known, except to those with a special interest. Vint Cerf, who's now the chief internet evangelist. That's truly his title. He's the chief internet evangelist at Google. And Bob Kahn, who with Vint wrote the protocols that lie at the heart of the internet. Here they are being awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Tim Berners-Lee, now Sir Tim, who literally invented the World Wide Web while he was working at CERN. And he did it on a computer, this radical NeXT computer, designed by Steve Jobs after Jobs had been fired by Apple. Seymour Cray, whose name and company were once synonymous with supercomputing, and many others. Dr. Griffith asked me to share 2 or 3 of my favorite stories of this IT revolution with you here today, for reasons that I hope will shortly become self-evident. Tough assignment, because one treasures all these people and all these stories. But for Dr. Griffith's, anything. So here goes. I've chosen 3 because they have touched my life, lifted my spirit, and remind me in a world where there is all too much discord and despair and argument and horror of the very, very best of what we're all here today to celebrate, what Lincoln called the better angels of our nature, and the mysterious ways in which they sometimes work. Story 1, on respect and those to whom it is due. There are long stories that teach lessons and small moments that can, I believe with all my heart, be just as revealing. And that's especially true when folks sometimes go out of their way to hide or disguise things that really make them who they really are. One of our program's greatest projects with the Smithsonian was a series of conversations called the Monticello Memoirs, held at Thomas Jefferson's mountaintop home overlooking the University of Virginia. The memoirs were really recorded conversations taped at small, intimate gatherings of the selected leaders of the IT revolution, brought together around the table of the leader of that earlier 18th century revolution, Mr. Jefferson. Among others around the table for the first of those conversations were our friend Seymour Cray, one of the fathers of American supercomputing, Gordon Moore of Intel and Moore's Law, and a wonderful man named Jay Forrester, legendary MIT professor and founder of Forrester Research, and a man who had decades earlier been one of his students, seen here walking with his old professor at Monticello. The student was the co-inventor of Ethernet. He was at the time fabulously wealthy and probably, except for Gordon Moore, the wealthiest man around Jefferson's table on that day. He was also not shy. He literally ate his hat after promising to do so when making a definitive prediction that the internet would absolutely collapse on a date certain. Now, Bob Metcalf, seen here perhaps, well, actually probably lecturing Gordon Moore in the slide. Bob was brilliant, outspoken, never shy, never in doubt, though, as the hat incident illustrates, he was sometimes wrong. He was arguably at the height of his fame and probably the wealthiest man at the table. The conversation that night was freewheeling. No topic was off limits. And given the personalities around the table, silence had been, shall we say, distinctly absent. Then Jay Forrester, his eyes twinkling and his head of white hair gleaming, tossed off some monumental Jeffersonian rhetorical question, which brought all conversation in the room to a screeching halt. I forgot what the question was or anybody's answer, but what I do remember is the silence, the breath-holding silence that followed. No one spoke. No one spoke for decades. And arguably around the table were some of the world's great intellects. No one spoke. Then, out of the silence, our friend, Bob Metcalf, slowly, shyly, still silent, he looked at his old professor. Jay Forrester had actually made him rewrite his doctoral dissertation on threat of failure at MIT. He looked at his old professor. Slowly and quietly, Bob Metcalf raised his hand. He raised his hand as if he were a student again, in the presence of a teacher who meant the world of him and still scared him, if only a little. Forrester looked at Metcalf, and around Jefferson's table, this table of equals, called on him as if he were in class. No doubt in the same tone of voice and with the same style he'd used for 1,000 years in 10,000 classrooms and seminars. It was, for me, one of the most inadvertent, spontaneous, uncharacteristic, and touching gestures of mutual respect I have ever seen. It had the aura of an ancient and beloved ritual. It was, from my days as a Presbyterian ministerial candidate, an outward and visible sign of true inner and spiritual grace. And it appeared and disappeared spontaneously in an instant. Never saw it again from either man, but it shaped my view of both of them and of spontaneous gestures of respect ever since. I think Thomas Jefferson looked down and smiled. My next tale is about incentive. It's on talent, teachers, and politically correct incentive. It's taken almost verbatim from one of my favorite interviews, and I want you to see if you can guess who's doing the talking in this interview. By the time I was in third grade, my interviewee began. I had a good buddy of mine named Rick Ferrantino, and the only way we had fun was to make mischief. There was a big bike rack where everybody put their bikes, maybe 100 bikes in this rack, and we traded everybody our lock combination for theirs on an individual basis, and then went out one day and put everybody's lock on everybody else's bike. And it took them to about 10 o'clock that night to get all the bikes sorted out. We were bad. We set off explosives in teachers' desks. We got kicked out of Montaloma Elementary School a lot. Then in the fourth grade, he continues, I encountered one of the saints of my life. They were going to put Rick and me into the same fourth grade class, and the principal said at the last minute, no, bad idea. Separate those boys. So this teacher, Mrs. Hill, said, I'll take one of them. She taught the advanced fourth grade class, and thank God I was the random one that got put in that class. She watched me for about 2 weeks, then approached me and said, tell you what, I'll make you a deal. I have this math workbook, and if you take it home and finish it on your own without any help, and you bring it back to me, if you get 80% of it right, I will give you $5 and one of those really big suckers. And she held it out in front of me, one of those giant things. And I looked at her like, are you crazy, lady? Nobody's ever done this before. And of course, I did it. She basically bribed me back into learning with candy and money. And what was really remarkable was, before long, I had such respect for her that it sort of reignited my desire to learn. She got me kits for making cameras. I ground my own lenses, made a camera. It was wonderful. And I think I probably learned more academically in that 1 year, that one fourth grade year, than I learned in my life. Created problems because when I got out of fourth grade, they tested me, decided to put me in high school. My parents, thank God, said, no, he can skip one grade, that's all. The young man being interviewed told me this story at arguably one of the low points of his life and career. He'd just been fired from the company he'd founded and loved, and his new one though innovative and exciting and the builder of beautiful and award-winning products, wasn't doing that well. His name was Steve Jobs. Mrs. Hill, Imogene Hill, he described, you will remember, as one of the saints of my life. She truly was. Finally, I must admit my very favorite story. I call it On the Injustices of Biology. It's about another kid who was, or appeared to be, an abject failure. In his youth, he loved swimming. He starred on the Mills High School swim team, but he hated school. He got out of high school, he told me, only because of a gift, a D he did not deserve, given to him because keeping him in school would have been a waste, if not cruel, and probably both. His brother, of course, was perfect. His brother was the smart one, right? Our kid didn't care. He got his diplomas and a night job in a warehouse so he could spend his days swimming and surfing, which were his only real passions. But it was 1967. There was a war on. The draft was in full force, and we were sending hundreds, what would become hundreds of thousands of troops to Vietnam. This kid's parents were both Marines. If he didn't want to become cannon fodder in Vietnam, they told him, he should join the Navy, and that's where he wound up. When they tested him, he had one of the highest aptitude scores recorded across the entire United States. No one had ever told him he was smart. Who knew? The Navy essentially offered him his choice of military specialties. But our friend had no love for discipline, and hence, surprise, no love for the military, or, he said later, no love for the war in Vietnam. He wanted to get in, get out, start surfing again in the shortest possible time. Well, the shortest term of service he could find in the Navy was as a medic. That was appealing. Once in the medics program, he again tested at the top of his class. No one told him, not even his parents it seems, that Navy medics get assigned to, guess who? The Marines. And the Marines were the first ground combat units into Vietnam and among the last to leave. So our friend soon found himself where he least wanted to be, in Vietnam in 1968 as a medic at the height of the Tet Offensive, which was one of the bloodiest series of battles fought during the Vietnam War. Because he was so good at what he did, he was assigned to the main field hospital at Da Nang, and this is actually the place at the time he was there. Much of the next year, he told me, was spent, in his words, up to his ankles in blood. Some of the men he treated, he said, lived, some died, and all too often, no one knew why. Why some lived, why some died. The injuries often seemed the same, all the efforts to save them just as conscientious. It nearly drove him mad, once to the point of trying to commit suicide by swimming out to sea. He was talked out of it about a mile offshore, he said, by a very large shark that appeared nearby. He left Vietnam, he said, determined to do something about what he described as the injustices of biology. Returning vets were so badly treated in California when he came home, he left the country for a year. And when he came home, he tried to go to college. But you'll remember he barely finished high school. So he started at a community college in San Mateo. Did well. Transferred to University of California at San Diego. Kid who barely got out of high school, earned his BS in 3 years, was published as an undergraduate. 3 years later, by 1975, had earned his PhD. His name was Craig Venter, and thanks to his groundbreaking work, Venter's was the first human genome ever decoded. And in 2000, you see him here, he presented a copy of that first draft of the human genome to President Clinton. 2008, he was awarded the National Medal of Science by President Obama, again for his work on the genome. His work has transformed modern medicine, and thanks to his work, many of you here in the room may live forever. So, When I was a full-time student of German history, focusing on the horrors of World War I, its aftermath, the rise of Nazism, I stumbled across a description of a 1920 painting by Paul Klee, which now reminds me of nothing so much as young Craig Venter after Vietnam. The painting was titled Novus Angelus, the New Angel. The description I'm about to give you was written in 1940 by a man named Walter Benjamin, who died by his own hand that same year on the border between France and Spain, fleeing the Nazi occupation. He saw this painting as the angel of history. The face of the angel, Benjamin wrote, is turned toward the past. Where we perceive a chain of events, he, the angel, sees a single catastrophe which keeps piling wreckage and hurls it in front of his feet. The angel would like to stay, awaken the dead, make whole what has been smashed. But a storm is blowing from paradise. It's got caught in his wings with such violence that the angel can no longer close them. And the storm irresistibly propels him into a future to which his back is turned, while the pile of debris before him grows skyward. The storm, Benjamin wrote, is what we call progress. Benjamin, in despair in 1940, of course, had no idea of the horrors that were still to come. But he also had no idea of the revolution that would follow, and clearly no faith that it would bring anything good. Unlike Klee's angel, and like Craig Venter, we here can and do look over our shoulders and into the future. And there you stand. Our past, like Klee's and Benjamin's and Ventnor's, has its fair share, sometimes more than its fair share, of misery and horror. And if my generation and my father's fathers owes anything to your generation, it is probably an apology. But here you are, alive, well, bright, well-educated, determined, refusing to be blown backward into your future. And the better angels of our nature whisper to us that with you, in the words of the last of the brothers Kennedy, there is hope. Work will begin anew. Hope will rise again, and the dream will live on. Thank you. Congratulations. Good luck to you all.
Thank you, Mr. Morrow, for sharing your inspiring stories with our graduates and their families. I'm now pleased to introduce a musical selection, When You Wish Upon a Star, under the direction of Sandy Champion.
Wish
I continue to be impressed by the wide range of talents of our DSU students and our broader campus community. Thank you very much for sharing your gifts with all of us through the added delight of music. Our commencement ceremony includes a member of the graduating class offering a few words on behalf of the graduates. Alyssa McAloon is an English for New Media graduate from Huron, South Dakota. Alyssa joined DSU in 2012. She spends considerable time with the Gaming Club as an unofficial member and believes their Thursday night games are part of what kept her sane during finals week each semester. She was employed with MDL and is now a barista at Moccavino. Most of her free time is spent building up her writing portfolio, traveling to different video game conferences around the country. Alyssa?
During the summer between my high school graduation and my first semester of college, I created a secret Facebook event that I creatively called Alyssa's College Graduation and set the date for May 20th, 2014. It goes without saying that today is not May 20th, 2014. After a few years of uncertainty, I was finally able to reschedule that event for this very day. Looking back, I don't think I was ready to graduate last year. While my bank account may not have appreciated it, the extra time I took to reach this point sincerely helped me to balance out the issues I was experiencing in my own life. I've been in school for 5.5 years. Some of you have no doubt been here longer than I have, and some of the lucky few may have managed it in 4. But no matter how long it took you to reach this point, we can all agree that we've worked hard to get our place in this graduating class. From graduation and on, we're going to spend a lot of time looking towards the future. For some of us, tomorrow will be the first time in nearly two decades that we won't be able to call ourselves students. We've got our entire lives ahead of us, and those 5-year plans aren't going to write themselves. But before we frame our diplomas, we should take time to be proud of ourselves for even making it to this point. College isn't easy, and the classes aren't just what make it difficult. Each and every one of us has fought and worked to get where we are today. For some, that struggle came through the natural stress of school itself. For others, the difficulty came from life outside the classroom. Reality does not care if you're a student or a graduate. When it finds you, it hits you hard. The most important thing anyone can do is learn to hit back. My own personal struggle started 5 years ago when my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. From that point on, my college career became a balancing act of classes, doctor's appointments, and stress. I learned to adapt. Some of my favorite essays were written in hospital rooms. And I'm not going to say that I never thought about just giving up. Without the support of my family, there's a chance I might have just given up. Even while going through chemotherapy and enduring multiple surgeries, my mom was always there to help me through my doubts. Her selflessness and relentless positivity were contagious and are both something that has helped me even through the toughest days. My mom passed away just over a year ago, but I know she was proud of me every single moment I fought my way towards this degree and to stand on this very stage. There is strength to be found in even our weakest moments. Every single person out there has overcame their own struggles just to be here today. Difficulty isn't relative. No matter how big or small your problems were, the most important thing to do is realize how much you've conquered and grown in the last few years. Never forget how hard you've worked towards this moment, and never forget the people who have supported you through thick and thin. To the family and friends in attendance today, thank you for helping your graduate accomplish something great. And to my own dad, who's watching this from a hospital room in Sanford as he recovers from an illness, I couldn't have done this without you. Congratulations, class of 2015. You've earned it.
Thank you, Alyssa, for your thoughts and insight on family and fortitude. The heart of any university is the faculty. Dakota State University has an especially unique faculty, individuals who are expert in their chosen disciplines, who also have a strong commitment to and expertise in the use and sharing of leading-edge technology, an edge that is constantly moving forward, requiring them to keep learning and moving forward as well. Our faculty walks side by side with our students every day, often indeed figuratively lifting their students up on their shoulders so that they may see further ahead than others. One of those faculty members passed away unexpectedly this fall, Dr. David Peake, an associate professor in the College of Business and Information Systems. We are honoring on the chair he would have occupied today. His wife Gina and their family are in the audience today. Dr. Peake, by displaying his academic regalia, you and the entire community, we offer you our condolences. Please join me for a moment of silence in remembrance of Dr. Peake. Thank you. I now ask that all of our Dakota State University faculty stand so we may acknowledge their contributions as well. Dakota State University degrees are authorized by the South Dakota Board of Regents. We're pleased to have Regent John Bastian with us today to officially confer degrees on our graduating students. Regent Bastian, the faculty of Dakota State University have determined that the candidates before you have completed or will complete all requirements for the degrees identified. I am pleased to concur with the recommendation of the faculty. I present these candidates to the Board of Regents for the awarding of degrees.
Thank you, President Griffith, and good morning, everyone. It is an honor for me to join this morning and greet you on behalf of the South Dakota Board of Regents. The board joins with your families and friends today in commending and congratulating you on your hard work in earning a university degree. And please accept our best wishes for a wonderful future of personal and professional success. As I think we all know, there's many changes throughout one's lifetime. Relationships come and go, fortunes are won and lost. But a university degree is one of the few things that once earned can never be diminished, can never be taken away. 40, 30, 40, 50 years from now, you'll remember this day. You'll remember the pride of your family and your friends. You'll remember the pride that you now feel in yourself. You'll also remember the friendships, the good times, and the challenges of your educational journey at Dakota State University, and you will have then that degree that you earned today. And most importantly, you will be able to look back on the tangible awards that your degree has bestowed. It is indeed an honor for me to share this day with you, and it's an honor to announce that by the authority vested in me as a member of the South Dakota Board of Regents, I authorize Dr. Jose Marie Griffiths, President of Dakota State University, to award the degrees that have been recommended. Thank you again for the opportunity to join you this morning.
I now call upon several individuals to assist me with the presentation of diplomas. I ask these individuals to rise and be recognized, and I ask that the audience hold all applause until everyone has been introduced. Dr. Judy Dittman, Vice President for Academic Affairs. Mr. Marcus Gostecki, Vice President for Student Affairs. Dr. Mark Hawkes, Interim Dean, Graduate Studies and Research. Dr. Benjamin Jones, Dean, College of Arts and Sciences. Dr. Jack Walters, Chair, College of Business and Information Systems. Dr. Kevin Streff, Chair, College of Computing. Dr. Gail Wiedau, Dean, College of Education. Ms. Kathy Callies, Registrar. Ms. Jennifer Meese, Graduate Programs Assistant, and our student marshals, Carissa Lewis and Haley Azimakopoulos. Also assisting with the graduate hooding this morning are Associate Professor Surendra Sarnikar, Professor Doreen Bennett, Associate Professor Steven Kresbach, Assistant Professor Ashley Podorowski, and Assistant Professor Yong Wang. Today, we're especially pleased to present a doctoral diploma to a graduate of our Doctor of Science in Information Systems program. I invite President Judy Dittman to present this candidate.
Good morning. It is my pleasure indeed to invite Sandeep Lakaraju, candidate for the Doctor of Science degree in Information Systems. His faculty advisor, Dr. Yong Wang, and program coordinator, Dr. Surendra Sarnikar, to please come forward. Sandeep has completed a Bachelor of Technology from JNTU Technological University and 2 Masters of Science degrees from Dakota State University. His dissertation is titled Analysis of Healthcare Workflows in Accordance with Access Control Policies. Dr. Yong Wang has served as his dissertation advisor and will be assisting with the hooding. I recommend to President Griffiths and the South Dakota Board of Regents that Sandeep Lakaraju be granted the Doctor of Science in Information Systems. Congratulations. I now ask that Ms. Jennifer Meese and Ms. Kathy Callies please bring the graduates forward to receive their diplomas.
Will the candidates for the master's level degrees of Dakota State please rise and come forward?
Did you give that to him?
Assisting with the hooding for the master's in business administration degree is program coordinator, Professor Jack Walters. In the College of Business and Information Systems, Master of Business Administration and General Management, Elizabeth E. Bird. Assisting with the hooding for the Master's in Health Informatics degree is Program Coordinator, Dr. Doreen Bennett. In the College of Business and Information Systems, Master of Science in Health Informatics, Nicole Kochiemba Loinger. Santosh Matthew. Avinash Misala. Akila Mupala. Assisting with the hooding for the Master's in Information Systems degree is Dr. Surendra Sarnakar. In the College of Business and Information Systems, Master of Science in Information Systems, Banu Teja Akanuru. S.K. Bassetti. Satyavata Biradar. Gerald Chikukwa. Gerald is also receiving an MSIA degree as well today. Laura A. Urslin. Sashank Reddy Gandalura. Anupam Gupta. Saeed Saad Iqbal. Mohammed Akram Khatib. Sheravan Kodakanda. Reshmi Kumari. Aditya Vishal Mahavrateya Jula. Christopher McEwen. Sankeeth Pilamari. Timothy Sado. Harsha Verdun Reddy Sagam. Harsha Verdun Sriram. Jansi Rani Unam.
Thanks.
Sirdia Teja Vemuri. Juwaria Wahab. Assisting with the hooding for the Master's in Applied Computer Science degree is Program Coordinator Dr. Stefan Kresbach. In the College of Computing, Master of Science in Applied Computer Science, Christopher Passion. Assisting with the hooding for the Master's in Information Assurance and Computer Security degree is Program Coordinator Dr. Ashley Podorowski. In the College of Computing, Master of Science in Information Assurance and Computer Security, Joshua D. Hofer. Priyad Harshanini Parthasardi. Rebecca M. Passion. Ryan D. Spohr. Assisting with the hooding for the Master's in Education and Educational Technology program is Coordinator Dr. Mark Hawks. Also assisting with the hooding for the Educational Technology program is Dr. Gail Weedo. In the College of Education, Master of Science in Education and Educational Technology, Raquez M. Alarira. Stephanie M. Dieterle. Stacy L. Fosek. Brittany A. Climbs.
Before Ms. Calise comes up, we inadvertently did not give Sandeep his diploma. Sandeep, would you come back up and we'll do this right?
Will the candidates for the baccalaureate and associate level degrees of Dakota State University please rise and come forward? Graduating in the College of Arts and Science, Tyler R. Carr. Emily C. Fetters, cum laude. Alyssa A. McAloon. Michaela Shea, cum laude. Nathan Sullivan Shea. Brianna Sophia Sumption, summa cum laude. Carl Paul Galm Vetter, cum laude. Graduating in the College of Business and Information Systems, Riley John Bullington. William Bouchon. Spencer Lee Layton, cum laude. Christopher Loaf. Johnny Vu Feng. Nicole Elizabeth Ramstead. Patricia M. Seiss. Michael John Ulrich. Beth Ann Wunaka. Graduating in the College of Computing, Rigoberto Aguirre, magna cum laude. Austin R. Donley. David L. Harding. Mohammed Rafsan Islam, cum laude. Jesse D. Kagerais. Tyler Clarenbeek, cum laude. Jason A. Lucas, summa cum laude. Donald Ian McKenzie, also graduating Information Systems, Center of Excellence minor, summa cum laude. Completing his degree programs in the summer of 2015, but joining us today, Craig Joseph Marquis, Jr., Computer Network Security. Jacob D. Meyer, Center of Excellence, cum laude. Drew Popham. Theodore David Sherman IV, Center of Excellence. Graduating in the College of Education, Dylan C. Deckert. Natalie Eggers. Jalen K. Hemmer, cum laude. Melissa Marie Hyde. Dania K. Johnson, magna cum laude. Ronnie Jorgensen. Gina M. Lentz. Kelly Mamiga, summa cum laude. Krista Paul, magna cum laude. Francis Richard Rummel. Erin Christine Ryan, cum laude. Kelly Marie Schlemgen. Jeff Smith. Carly Stockert. Drew Strand. Jada Lorene Swenson, cum laude. Morgan Marie Van Zee, Center of Excellence, summa cum laude. Christina L. Warnke. Matthew Wiles. Graduating interdisciplinary majors, Brittany Hill. Kelsey Ray Larson. Daniel R. Schneider, also graduating Associate of Arts, Network and System Administration. Emmanuel Elijah Williams. Graduating Associate Level Degree, College of Business and Information Systems, Melissa Ray Teedy with highest honor.
So now for the important piece. Will all of the graduates please rise? By the authority vested in me by the Board of Regents, I hereby confer upon each of you the degree to which you are entitled, with all the rights and privileges appertaining thereto. Members of this 2015 graduating class, we celebrate your accomplishments. You may now move your tassels from your right to your left, and as you do so, I invite the audience to join me in applauding your success. Please stay standing. Please stay standing. There's one group present that we haven't yet recognized today. So would all of the DSU alumni in this room today please stand and be recognized? Give yourselves a round of applause. Loyal to blue, go Trojans! It's now my pleasure to call upon Mr. Arden Jones, representing you may sit, yeah, sorry. First time, you know. It's now my pleasure to call upon Mr. Arden Jones, representing your Dakota State University Alumni Association, to welcome today's graduates as alumni of the university.
Good morning. On behalf of the Dakota State University Alumni Association, I want to congratulate you this morning on attaining your degrees. This is an exciting time in your lives. With your graduation today, you become a member of our ever-growing Alumni Association, now numbering well over 12,000. The DSU Alumni Association can be a valuable asset for you to network and stay connected, not only with your classmates, but with the entire DSU alumni family. I've given this speech a few times over the years. It's always a pleasure to represent the Alumni Association. I became involved with the Alumni Association while my daughter was here and graduated in, I don't even remember, 2000 and something she graduated. I paid for most of it, so I should remember that. But it was exciting to get involved with the Alumni Association, and now to serve as president, it's been a fantastic run. I would ask you to consider at some point going forward, consider serving on the board, getting involved, staying active and committed to Dakota State. We are always looking for hardworking, committed volunteers to help us spread the ever-growing and changing good news of Dakota State. In conclusion, don't forget us. Keep the alumni office informed of what you're doing, where you're at, and try to make it back. Come back for homecoming, keep connected, come to a concert, attend a sporting event. Don't forget DSU. Dr. Griffith stole our new line, loyal to blue. Congratulations.
Before we conclude, I'd like we all just take a couple of moments to savor this occasion. Graduates, or should I say new alumni, this is a significant milestone in your lives and in the launching of your careers on various trajectories of success. We don't know where your paths will lead you as you leave Dakota State, but we do know that they will be wider and rich with greater success and experiences than had you never attended DSU. As you leave, I challenge you to take with you the knowledge and wisdom of those under whose tutelage you've sat. I challenge you also to stay in touch with the people who've been significant to you during this time. Those relationships will shape your lives in ways you may not yet see or understand, but they are important, and you need to continue to nurture them, if only from a distance. Most of all, I challenge you to stay in touch with the person that you have become during your studies here at Dakota State, and as a result of all of your education and experiences that have led you here to this day. Mr. Morrow spoke of the better angels of our nature. I will not speak of angels, but in closing, I have a similar message. This story is taken from an old Cherokee legend. An elderly Cherokee chief was teaching his grandson about life. His grandson had asked him for advice as he struggled to deal with his anger at a friend who had done him an injustice. The chief replied, "My son, there is a battle between two wolves inside us all. One wolf is evil. It's anger, jealousy, greed, resentment, inferiority, selfishness, and ego. The other wolf is good. It's joy, peace, love, hope, humility, kindness, empathy, truth, and integrity. The good wolf lives in harmony with those around him and does not take offense when none was intended." The boy thought for a moment and then asked, "Grandfather, which wolf wins?" And the old man quietly replied, "The one you feed." So graduates, as you embark on this next phase of your lives, I encourage you to nurture and respect and honor the good wolf within you. We wish you the greatest success in your new endeavors and Godspeed. Congratulations to you all. Friends and family, on behalf of the faculty, staff, and students of Dakota State University, I thank you all for attending this commencement. We invite you to join your graduate and the faculty at the Dakota Prairie Playhouse for punch, coffee, and cake in recognition of today's graduates. So to conclude this commencement, I ask that the entire audience rise and join in the singing of the Alma Mater, led by the DSU Choir. The words are on the back of your program. After the singing, please remain standing for the recessional.